Hello everyone. Thanks so much for joining this video. This is going to be some information here. I'm actually sharing it from a group call that I did yesterday, and it was recommended that I actually share it with the public because there's so many people who struggle with this. So we had our call yesterday about pre-tracking our food and our intake for the upcoming day. It's one of the things that I stress so much to my clients who are struggling to stay consistent with their calories and their macros is to pre-track their food and their portions. This way, you're not trying to remember to do it as you go or trying to do a look back at the end of the day, because let's be real, that look back is very rarely actually accurate. We tend to forget all those bites, licks, and tastes. We tend to forget all of the true portions of things. So, and it just kind of takes the stress out of it too. So, I walk you through how I plan a pre-tracked day for myself and the why and the thought process. And I also walk you through, because I know a lot of people are like, well, I can't pre-track because I don't know if I'm going to go to dinner or something like that. So I actually walk you through what to do if you've pre-tracked all your meals and then something changes and you have to eat out. Like, what do you do in that scenario? So I walk you through that as well. Anyway, stick with it, hang in there, watch the whole video. I apologize if it's not the best like audio and like video quality, but it was like a Zoom call and we record all of our group calls. But based on, like I said, based on the feedback, I thought I would share with the public. I think I'm also going to do another video. Sorry, dogs are fighting. I will do another video as well that kind of goes over like macros one-on-one, like what they are, how you calculate them, and how you can manipulate them to meet your specific goals. So I'll work on that too. Probably not the best order, but since I just recorded this video with the group yesterday, I figured I'd upload it now. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you have any topics that you do want me to cover, I'm happy to do so. Just go ahead and comment below with any of the topics that you want to hear about.
And you can
Thanks.
forget about this entire plan over here. It does this randomly and it's not even accurate. So I don't even look at that. So don't worry about that. This is where I play around, and this is an app, but I can log in on the computer, and I figured it was easier to show everyone with a screen share on the computer than on the phone. So anyway, I pulled up tomorrow because we're going to talk about how to do pre-tracking, sort of like best practices. And we're gonna kind of just, I haven't prepared, I have nothing in mind, so we're just gonna track this by the seat of our pants here. So I'm gonna start with breakfast, obviously. So, and I don't usually use the website, so I apologize if I have to flip through different screens, but I think, no, that's not it. Okay, so I go to this food tab and you'll see it has my breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. So from here, obviously it's a totally blank slate. If I've used something before, I can pull it up, sort of like pull it over from previous days, but I'm not going to play that game. We're going to do this totally fresh so you can see how you would do it. So for breakfast, see, this is where it was like I could copy over my breakfast, but we're not going to do that. We're going to start just building something. So let's say we're going to have eggs. So we're going to say eggs. And I try to be as specific as possible where you just say too large or extra large. I don't know if anyone ever really knows extra large versus a large egg. You might. But I will try to pick as specific as I can. So I will choose egg extra large, but instead of just, oh wait, no, I don't like that. See, this is what I'm talking about. I was going to show you guys, I don't measure them by the number of eggs. I will measure them by the amount of the egg. So this isn't a great entry to pick. So see, we're doing great. We're gonna try this one. Okay, this one's great. So I could track 2 large eggs, and in a scenario where you can't measure in any type of way, it's better than nothing. But if I'm at home and I'm able to use my food scale, or if you use measuring cups, you can get a decent idea. Now I'm just going to choose grams because that's how I typically will measure my food. And let's say we're going to do 150 grams of eggs. I'm gonna log it to my breakfast. Okay, and when I see that, I'm gonna see the carbs, protein, and fat, which is the biggest things I'm gonna pay attention to right now. I don't pay as much attention to the rest of it, but it gives me information if I want it. So 18 grams of protein in that 150 grams of eggs. So then I'm gonna say, okay, I need more protein than that in my breakfast. So what am I gonna add to this? If I'm gonna make scrambled eggs, I'll probably add some egg whites. So I'll put egg white. This is the one I usually use. That's why it pulls up, and I will choose a measuring amount. Again, I tend to use grams, but you could also use cups here. And I'll put in maybe 75 grams of egg whites scrambled into the regular eggs. Okay, so what does that do? The reason I have reds here is because there are no carbs in it. It's just giving me an alert, so don't worry about that. But just by adding the egg whites, I get an extra 8 grams of protein. So I went from having 18 grams to 26 grams just by adding a little bit of egg whites to the scrambled eggs. So 26 is close enough to where I usually want to be, which is around 30. And there may be trace amounts of some of the other stuff I pick. So I need to usually get my veggies in. So I tend to go more on the Mexican flavor of things. So I'm gonna choose peppers. So let's say, I don't know, green peppers for today. And the last time I used it, it was 42 grams. I'll go with that. We'll throw 42 grams in to the eggs. Great. And then I'll probably put some onions in there. So yellow onions. Last time I used it, it was also 46 grams. So we'll just go with that. And I may throw some salsa on there, right? Because salsa is pretty awesome. And this is the green salsa. 45 ml. That's about what I would probably use. It's what I used last time, so I'll just carry that through, but you can change the amounts. Okay, so here's my scrambled eggs. I have 150 grams of true eggs, 75 grams of egg whites mixed in, and then I'm gonna add in some veggies because I need veggies in the day. So green peppers, yellow onions, and some salsa. Great. Now you're gonna notice I only have 10 carbs, right? And this girl needs more than that. So what do I want to do? Do I want to put them in a tortilla? Probably, but you could also do like a muffin, like an English muffin, or you could do toast or throw some fruit with it, right? So I'm gonna put it in tortilla because I love tacos. So I would usually choose the actual brand of tortilla that I use. The reason being is that there's a pretty big variance between the different brands. So this is the brand that we actually have in our house right now that I bought for everyone. And we're gonna go with 50 grams, which I believe is about 2 of them. Because that was the last entry I used, and I know I had 2 of them when I did that, but again, you can edit that to whatever yours comes out to. Or if you don't have a food scale, you usually use measuring cups. That's where you would probably choose like 1 tortilla as the measurement, because you can't measure like a cup of tortilla. I'm sorry, there's a dog fight going on in the background. Hold, please. Jackson, Savannah, separate the dogs. Take them outside. Okay, so that's my breakfast here. So I have, if I look at my totals, it's gonna be 465 calories, 30 grams of protein, 37 carbs, and 21 fat. Okay, so this is going to be probably my higher fat meal, which is fine. And at 465, that's about where I want my meals because my total calorie budget is 1770. So I want them around 500-ish plus some extra room for snacks. So that's where I am for the day. I started out of the gate. What's my main goal? Protein. I put that in first. My next thing is veggies. I put that in second. And then fats took care of themselves. I didn't even need to think about it. Added some carbs to round it out. Now, if I didn't want my fats to be as high, I could decrease the amount of full eggs and I could increase the amount of egg whites. So if we do that, I will show you what that looks like. I'll take the full egg down to 100 grams. And I will take the egg whites up to 125. So I literally took away 50 grams of full eggs and I added 50 grams of egg whites. What did that do? Big difference. So my protein stayed about the same, but my fats went down by about 5 grams. Okay, so if you have trouble with, staying within your fat goals, this can actually help, is to look at it and be like, is that gonna help spread out very well throughout the day? Maybe having 20 in the very first meal isn't the best idea. So you can make an adjustment to decrease the amount of fat based on what you chose. So then the next thing I have here is lunch. So let's see. Do we have any lunch ideas? I'm gonna see if Sarah, do you have any lunch ideas?
I like to do leftover dinner from the night before, or sometimes I'll do like chicken salad made with Greek yogurt.
Okay, well, let's go with that. So we're gonna
Because
go with,
wrap or put it over a salad or whatever you have room for.
okay, so we're gonna go with a chicken breast. Let's say, hey, it pulled up 180 grams, so I'm just gonna use that. That's about the size of a chicken breast, like a medium-sized one. And then you said you made it with Greek yogurt. And I would guess plain, because you probably don't want a flavored one. So when I'm choosing yogurt or something like that, something that comes in a container, I will always try to choose brand specific, because again, there's so many differences in what the add-ins are, and high fat, low fat, more protein, all that stuff. So I always choose the same brand. For things that are very produce-y or animal based, like a chicken breast or veggies, usually choosing a generic one is fine, because there's no branding on your veggies, right? So let's say we went with, I'm just gonna go with Oikos. Okay, I spelled plain wrong. So Oikos. Greek yogurt, plain. So here we go. Assuming that that's the one. Now, this app that I use and the one that I have in our software, you can scan the labels. That's the easiest way to do it, is just scan the label versus having to search through the whole library. But when I'm doing it on the computer, I can't actually use that scan function, so I have to search it. So just to kind of clarify that. But so say we're gonna put some Greek yogurt in there. You could add in a measurement of a cup, or you could actually measure it out. So I would typically measure it out, but not everyone is using food scales, and that's fine. You can use a cup or half a cup or whatever you usually say. I, again, work in grams, and I have a pretty good idea of what that looks like, because I've been doing this for so long. I have a pretty good idea about how many grams end up in a cup of various different things. So that comes with just time, but always try to measure what you're putting in some sort of fashion, or at least guesstimate. So I'm gonna say maybe we put 100 grams of yogurt in there. And again, you could do that to taste if you like more or less, like that's fine. Let's see. Sarah, do you put anything else in your chicken salad?
You can throw veggies in, maybe some like celery or almonds or grapes or something. Some
Great.
herb.
Let's do, I don't want ounces, I want grams. Again, let's see. So celery is pretty much very little calories. You probably spend more calories digesting it than it has in it. So let's say we do 25 grams of celery. It's literally 4 calories. But I will still track it because there is fiber in it and other things.
I like it for brunch.
Yeah. All right. So let's go with red grapes. Sure, why not? And I'm gonna go with, we don't want to overpower it, so let's just say like 40 grams of red grapes. Okay. So with just the chicken salad here, 47 grams of protein. Winner. Absolutely. Only 5 grams of fat and only 12 carbs. So I have room to play around with this. Let's see. I used tortillas up here, so I may not want to do a wrap, but maybe I put it on. Let's see, what else do you put it on, Sarah?
Like Ezekiel bread or Dave's Killer bread.
All right, let's go for Ezekiel. Let's see, I've used this brand before, but I would scan it. I would scan the label for it.
Not the English muffin though.
Oh, ew, wait, hold on. Good call, good call. Cancel. All right. Ezekiel bread. There we go. It's the same brand, but it's not a muffin. Okay, so if you weren't able, if you were using like measuring cups and stuff, again, you can't stuff like a piece of bread into a measuring cup, so you would just go by like the slices estimate. Again, I would go with grams. So 2 slices are probably about 75 grams. Give or take. Okay. So then you could see that changed it because Ezekiel bread also has protein in it. I just went from like a really solid protein amount to like a crazy high protein amount. I went up to 58. So that's kind of awesome. The carbs are still moderate and the fat is pretty low. Less than 10 is considered low fat. So that's awesome. This is a great meal.
I should do that this week.
Yeah. Okay. So just with my breakfast and my lunch, right? So before I put anything else in, I can go and be like, okay, where am I at with stuff? It shows me where I'm at in terms of like my total. Here's my total calories. I'm only at about a little bit more than half my calories. Carbs, I have a bunch left. Protein, I only have 62 left because we did so good with the protein in the beginning. And my fat is kind of in the middle there. So we have some ability to play. So let's go to dinner. I always do breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then I fill in the difference with the snacks. So what do we want for dinner? Sarah, let's go. Help me out. Let's go with
Well,
a big beef or something.
It's gonna have tortillas, but I always go for tacos.
I love tacos. All right. Let's go with because we have more fat left in our plan, we can do like a 92% beef. 92 grams. Here we go. And actually the last time I had tacos, I know I had 133 grams. So I'm gonna go with that to start. Okay. And we're definitely gonna throw some veggies in there. So let's go with some multicolor peppers because we already had green peppers. Peppers. Here's those little mini ones. 31 grams is probably good. We're gonna want to throw some tomatoes on there, maybe. Let's see, raw tomato. Ooh, 90 grams is a lot. Let's fix that. Let's say 45, a little bit heavier. And let's get real, I'm gonna throw some salt on there again. We'll use the same amount as before.
Lettuce.
Oh yeah, gotta have the lettuce for the crunch. Now, notice there's a brand on the lettuce. You're gonna find you'll be able to scan them because a lot of times lettuce comes in like some kind of container or a bag or something. You can scan your brand, but like there's not going to be a difference because it's produce. There's not going to be a difference between the calorie content of your romaine lettuce between brands because it's romaine lettuce. So it's okay to use a generic one for that. I'm gonna do again grams. I usually do about 45 for some solid. That might be a little bit much, but whatever. Okay. And so just that alone, not putting any carbs or any cheese or anything on it, we're at only 7 carbs, 27 grams of protein, and 12 grams of fat. So that's gonna leave me with lots of room for my fats. So I'm probably gonna put some guacamole on it. I ain't gonna lie. So I save my recipes that I make at home and I will usually have homemade, but for these purposes, I'd have to go into that whole recipe and I'm not gonna do that. But I know Sabra sells, actually no, Holy Guacamole sells like those single serving ones. So that's an easy one to grab. But I'm not gonna use the whole single serving because it's actually more servings than one. So, I'm gonna only use 30 grams of it, and I'm gonna put it in a little plastic bag or container, and I'll save it for the next day. If you put some lime juice on top and then close it up, it will not get brown and gross. So, fun fact. So by doing that, I'll be able to add 5 grams of fat, and then I think we probably need some cheese on this thing. So let's do some Mexican cheese. And I don't use a lot of cheese, guys, but we'll just change it. You might want more cheese. Let's say 12. Okay. So notice I still haven't added the carbs because we want to see. We want to see what we want to do with it. So far we're at 30 protein, 20 fat, and only 9 carbs. So what does that leave for the day? I'm still pretty low on carbs, so I can definitely add in some serious carbs into that. Protein, it's still gonna leave me with 32 to get into my snacks. And fat, I'm gonna have about 8 left. So I don't want to add any more fat in because I want to leave some for my snacks. But I have lots of carbs to use. I'm only about halfway through my carbs. So I might actually throw this in a bowl and put rice in it instead of using tortillas, because rice is going to be more carb dense than the tortilla. And some of the tortillas will have fat, and I don't want to use any more fat in this meal. So that is why I'm going to choose rice. So let's go with, this is the brown rice I currently have in my fridge. So this is where I'm going to play around with amounts. So if I do 40 grams, now notice, usually when rice is in these, it's dry weight. So 40 grams dry weight is usually about half of the cooked weight because it absorbs water when it's been cooked. So if I'm putting in 40 grams here, of dry, I'm actually going to measure out 80 grams of it if it's already cooked. So note to self on that. That's an easy way to make a possible error. Okay, so if I add that, that's going to give me 27 carbs, which means I'm still going to have like 62. So you know what? I'm probably going to have a little bit more rice with that. I'm going to go change it. So instead of only 40 grams, I'm going to go 60. Give myself some nice carbs so I can have my muscles loaded for the next day. So now I'm going to have 50 carbs in that, 34 in protein, and 22 in fat. Okay. And the dinner's about 500 calories. That's about where I want to have it. Notice how these are all around 400 or 500. So I had 422 for breakfast, 455 for lunch, and 516 at dinner time. Okay. So then I'm going to go, I'm like, okay, what's left? Snacks. So what do I have left that I need to fill in? 28 grams of protein, 6 grams of fat, and 48 of carbs. So I actually will use, and this is just me, I have 2 snacks a day. So I have 3 meals and 2 snacks usually. So you could have a protein bar as one of them. And this is just the current protein bar that I have. These I don't measure, I just go by like 1 bar. Okay, so that will give me 24 carbs, 20 grams of protein, and 8 grams of fat. So that puts me 2 over my fat. Now, I'm not going to obsess over those 2 grams being over, but what that tells me, because I like to stay within 5 grams of my fat goal, that tells me that anything else I put in at this point has to be no fat, basically. Okay. But now I'm only 8 grams away from my protein goal, and I've got 24 grams of carbs left. Sorry, can't think. So what am I going to do? Well, I like to have a yogurt bowl before bed. So I'm going to put in, and guess what? I think I'm going to be over, but I'm currently enjoying Too Good. 150 grams is the size of one of those cups. So if I put that in, let's see what happens. Whoa, I am over my protein just a little bit. It did add 2 grams of fat, but I'm still within my 5. So I'm not going to say anything about that. And I'm going to want some carbs, and I like to put some frozen berries in mine, and I let them thaw. And then there's like the berry sauce that comes out when they thaw. It's pretty awesome. So this is the current berries that I'm using. And for some reason, I landed on 92 grams I'm having every day. I don't know why 92, but that's just what it is. So I'm gonna go with that. All right, so where does that leave me here? I have 10 grams left of carbs. I'm over by 5 of protein and I'm over by 5 of fat. No need to freak out, but could I leave the day like this? Yeah, but if I want to be really dialed in, I want to stay within 5 grams of all of these. These are within that, this is not, but I'm going to go tweak a few things. So I'm a little over on my protein. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go up to my highest protein meal and back off a little bit. So maybe I don't use 180 grams of chicken. Maybe I use 160 instead. That brings me down to just 1 gram of protein over, but I'm still a little bit over on my fat. So what am I going to do? Remember when we were talking about how much cheese to have? And I was like, oh, I don't have much cheese, but you guys might want it. Well, guess what? You get less. So that you can stay within your goals. And I took away just a little bit, but that didn't really make a difference. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to put it back at 7 where I started. That took it down 1 gram. Well, guess what? I need to go toward another one that's a little bit higher fat and pull that off. So I'm going to go to my guacamole and I'm going to have to suffer and take a little bit away of my guacamole, but it's fine because this is going to be awesome meal either way. So now I'm only 2 grams over, which I would consider good, but for the sake of this, let's be super precise. Now we're only over by 1. We're going to play the game. Take 1 away, see what happens. We're still over by 1. Let's take another 1 away. This is literally what I do. And it sounds or looks probably crazy, but this is how you ensure solid accuracy. Oh my gosh. This is driving me insane. When are we going to get 1 gram down? There we go. There we go. We're exactly at our protein. We're exactly at our fat. We have 11 grams of carbs left. So I'm gonna go look at how much I'm having in carbs. The bread might be difficult to adjust because if we had 2 slices, like we just have to go with what that equals, unless you want to have like a portion of a slice of bread, which is weird. Easiest one to adjust is probably our rice. So let's add just a little bit and hope that it doesn't change our protein and fat too much because there are trace amounts. So that added a little bit. Let's go a little further. Okay, we're within 4. That might be enough rice for me, but maybe I obsess over the fact that this is only 92 grams and I want to make it an even number because that's something I would do. And I want to make it 100. We're now within 3 grams of our carb goal. So what am I going to do? Add a little bit more. And berries don't have many carbs in them, so I'm going to have to add a lot more. Boom. There we go. We exactly hit our carbs, we exactly hit our protein, and we exactly hit our fat. I'm happy. Now, this is funny. So if our calorie budget is here and we hit all of our protein and fat and carb goals, how the heck are we off? Because of rounding, guys. Like sometimes there's just rounding. So your calorie budget, I always usually say keep it plus or minus 100, but focus more on your grams of your macros here. And then next thing I could look at is fiber. 19 grams of fiber. I'd like to be above 20, so I'm gonna call that close enough. Sugars, added sugars, 0. Ain't no added sugar in this. You could look at your sodium. I don't worry about that too much. And then it has other things here. But that is literally how you build your day and how you play around with your amounts or your ingredients to make it work within your macros. But let's play plot twist. So let's say what do we want to do? Most likely one is probably dinner. So we get home from work, we rocked our morning snack and our breakfast and our lunch, and we get home and oops, guess what? We're going out for dinner. We don't have a choice. Something went on. We forgot about something with our friends, or our husband or spouse takes us out somewhere. Fine. So guess what? This dinner plan just went out the window, right? Delete it. Shit, now what do we do, right? Okay, don't freak out. I usually will leave my PM snack. I'm still gonna have my yogurt and stuff before I go to bed, but I gotta figure out this dinner thing. So if I took away that dinner, I've gotta fill in 33 grams of protein, 18 fat, and 56 carb. Should be doable, right? So we were having ground beef in that scenario, okay? So just because I don't like to have the same proteins all day long, because there's different amino acids in every protein, I don't want to go with chicken again. So we go out to dinner. I'm going to choose a beef. So let's say I get taken to a nice dinner. One can dream, right? So if I go to a nice dinner and I'm going to get a steak, I'm going to get a filet. So I'm going to choose the pre-cooked one. I'm going to go with the broiled. I know that most of the time when you order a filet at a restaurant, it's an 8-ounce filet, but always ask. Sometimes they have 10-ounce ones and sometimes they have 6-ounce ones. It's usually on the menu, right? But an 8-ounce one, when it's cooked down, is usually 6 ounces cooked because it loses water when it's cooked, right? So the way I convert that is I literally just take 75% of the raw amount. So if they say it's 8 ounces on their menu, it's 8 ounces raw. And so when they bring it to you, it's about 6. All right, so I'm gonna log that because protein first. Okay, where is that gonna put me? Dang, that's gonna put me over my protein. Don't worry, we'll deal with it. Then I'm gonna get a baked potato because those are pretty good and you can control what gets put on them. Now, this is difficult when you go to a restaurant, like a baked potato can be like this big or this big, right? So you have to kind of go with eyeballing it. I know just because I have baked potatoes fairly often, I'm pretty confident being able to eyeball, like, hey, if I normally have 250 grams, I know what that looks like typically if I'm looking at it on a plate. So I usually will equate it to either cut what the potato size I get to about that size that I'm used to, or figure out, okay, if this much is usually my size and it's this much bigger and I'm going to eat that, what is that going to equate to? So I have to do a little bit of mental gymnastics, and that comes with time. The more you track, the more you get used to what the portions look like on your plate. So this can become much easier to estimate. So let's say whatever they give me, I just estimate is my normal about 250 serving size that I tend to take. And I leave the rest. Like, just because they give it to you, don't mean you have to eat it. You can always bring it home. So I'm gonna cut off the part that is about the size that I usually eat, and I'm gonna put the rest off to the side. I'm not gonna have it. So what does that do? That my carbs are gonna still stay pretty solid there, but my protein is really higher. Again, we'll deal with it. And I'm gonna want some veggies. So let's go broccoli, because I do like some solid broccoli. Easiest thing to find usually at one of these fancy places is probably steamed. So let's call it steamed broccoli. Now, I'm gonna warn you, you usually have to tell them not to put butter on it, or you have to log the butter, okay? I usually ask for mine without butter, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Now, this is where broccoli, I'm not as good with figuring out ounces and grams and stuff, so I will just go with like a cup, and I can use like the size of my fist to estimate, so call it like a cup. Okay. All right. So I went out to eat. I had a filet, a baked potato, and steamed broccoli. And the only thing I went over was in my protein, which if the day ended this way and I was 26 grams over in protein, that is the best macro to be over. But remember, I left my nighttime snacky in here. And probably after having this, I'm going to be full. And I probably won't want this. So I'm going to take it out. and say I'm not gonna have my nighttime snacky. So that's still gonna leave me a little bit over on my protein, but oh gosh, I'm gonna lose some fat and carbs here. No problem, you can find fat and carbs at any restaurant. So I'm gonna go back up. And that means I can have a little bit larger size of potato. So let's say 280. And I can have some butter on that broccoli because I need a little bit more fat. But maybe just a little bit. Like, let's not get crazy. Half a tablespoon, let's try it. Okay, but I didn't add enough potato. We're gonna go 300. So you can have bigger potato. So that part that you were gonna put off to the side, you don't have to, you can eat it. Let's go 325. All right, that's within 2, that's close. We're still over on our protein, so that full size fillet that they gave me, maybe I'm not gonna eat the whole thing. I don't need that much protein. So if I take it from 6 ounces and I leave like a couple bites on the plate, I had about 4.5. That's gonna get me to an imperfect perfection. I know, it doesn't make sense, but I didn't hit everything exactly. There's 2 left, 2 left, 3 left, but I'm within 5 of each of them. I'm within 100 calories. I'm good. So I can go out to dinner. I can make some good choices there. Even throw some butter on my broccoli, which I don't always do. And I just cut out that nighttime snack because I'm probably gonna be full from this anyway. And I still hit my goals and I still got to go have a nice meal out of the house without destroying my diet. I hope that makes sense. And I hope I didn't talk too fast, but that's literally how I do my pre-tracking. Now you'll see, like, before I got into what happens with, you know, if you get thrown a plot twist, this didn't really take that long, especially if you take all of my jibber jabber out of it and I was just entering things in. It doesn't really take that long. The longest part was when we got to the end and we had to make those little tweaks to round out the macros of adding a little bit more of this and a little bit less of that. But again, you will start to get more intuitive with that the more you practice it. And that's exactly what this is. This is practice. Every day when you're trying to do this, it's practicing the skill so that it becomes less and less time consuming and less mental energy. Once you do it for a while, a lot of the stuff is just like, yep, I'm going to have about this much of that. And yep, I'm going to have about this much of this. And it just starts coming second nature. And then your favorite meals, you can save as favorite meals. So you don't have to do this all the time. You just pull them through. And say, like, I'm a little bit more of a boring person. I don't mind eating the same thing multiple days. So if I did this for like a Monday, I would carry my breakfast through to Tuesday and Wednesday, or maybe even the whole week. I would carry my lunch through to Tuesday, Wednesday, or maybe even the whole week. And then I would just switch my dinners and maybe my snacks. No big deal. So whatever you can do to make life easier, sure, having something different every day might be more exciting, but in terms of when you're trying to dial your nutrition in, sometimes going the path of least resistance is easier until you are more comfortable with the skill, and then you can start mixing it up a little bit more. But it's not the end of the world if you have the same thing 2 days in a row. Just saying. All right then. So you'll see how I did this. Again, I had 1770 calories. I did my protein first with every meal, then my veggies, then my carbs and fat. That's kind of the priority when we're going through it. And then breaking out my meals, if I only have 1700 calories, I'm going to have 3 main meals, and those are going to be somewhere between 400 to 500. Those are the big chunks of my calorie budget. And then whatever's left, I fill in with my snacks. So it's literally like budgeting your money. And if you're not good at budgeting your money, I apologize. I might just be making this worse, but what you do is you take your pile of money for the month and you got to pay your mortgage or your rent. You got to pay your utility bills. You got to get groceries, right? So that's where you spend your money first. Same thing with your calories. Your protein, your veggies is where you spend your money first. And then you can worry about your carbs and your fat, because fats and carbs are super easy to find. So that's exactly how it is with your money. Whatever you have left, you get to have fun with, and whatever you don't have left, you don't have fun with. So hopefully that, kind of helps break it down for you. Obviously, if you have questions, let me know. But I just wanted to walk you through sort of an ad lib day of how you can still, and again, I'm hitting whatever, 150 grams of protein, 180 carbs, and 50 fat are my macros right now. So it's still high protein, moderate carb, and moderate fat. So this is how you can hit it. And again, if I didn't want to have like a protein supplement, we could have swapped this out for that yogurt instead. So a lot of times I don't have a protein supplement, but I was just using an example there, like a quick on the go thing, but you don't need to have those protein supplements in order to hit 150 grams, which is where a lot of us are somewhere around there between 130 and 150, in this group. So hopefully that helps you guys. And I know not everyone could get on because of the Super Bowl Sunday and stuff like that, but the recording is going to be posted, and save it if you need to reference this later. And I know not everyone's even tracking macros, but this might be an intro as to how that could look for you.